What is up? What is up? What is up, y'all? We are back in the house live once again. It is an honor and a pleasure to be before you all. We're going to talk a little bit about a situation today that I didn't expect to go live on at all, but it is a pleasure and an honor to be before you to talk about this situation. Y'all, I just went, and I know I'm late. Listen, if you follow me for some time, you know that I'm an introvert by nature. Happy Mac in the building. Thank you for being here. I'm an introvert by nature. I saw a meme the other day that I copied to my phone. It said, I hate when I go out in the public and the public be there. It tickled my spirit because that's my sentiment. I hate when I go out in the public and the public be there. Y'all, I waited as I normally do for movies that I really want to see, movies that I think I really can connect with. I wait till after opening weekend. I wait till after I think all of y'all done went to see it. And then I sneak off in there in a matinee and try to see the film. And I went yesterday to see Sinners. After all the hype, after all the anticipation, after all the trailers had went out and people had been commenting on it on YouTube, on them folks' platform, I said, I'm going to go check it out. Because I got people who want to engage with me and talk about it, and we can't even have a discussion because they've seen it and I haven't. Kevin Hayden music in the building. Life Changer 16 in the building. Thank you for being here. All of y'all. Appreciate your support. Y'all, I went to the movies yesterday and I saw this movie. And boy, did it strike a tone in my spirit. Because if you follow me for some time and you know my work over the last 20 years in this musical space, in this gospel music space, I said, listen, after I saw the movie and it struck a tone with me, I came home, I said, I'm going to look at every review, every explanation I can find and see if anybody has touched on it. Because if they have expressed what I want to express, ain't no need for me to touch it. Ain't no need for me to talk about it. Ain't no need for me to be about it. Somebody has already put it out there, but y'all listen to me. When I tell you, review after review, explanation after explanation, nobody has touched on it from my perspective. All praise be to God for giving me such a perspective. All praise be to God for giving me the strength to carve out my own lane in this musical space to deal with a topic such as this. And let me just put this out there, because some of y'all might not know this. The director of this film, Ryan Coogler, went to the same undergrad that I went to, which is pretty ironic in this situation, this scenario. Because when I was a student at that university, he had posters all over campus. I was taking classes in the film department. This man is respected and revered on that campus, one of the largest campuses in California. But he was not a film student, and many people don't understand that. When he was on that campus as an undergrad, the same undergrad I went to, he was a business student, not a film student. But his face and his name and his reputation is revered in the film department. Shout out to Sac State. I got multiple degrees from that university. And it is so ironic that that man and I went to the same university and I would be in a position today to opine on something that he has produced that I think is stellar. I didn't give it a perfect score, but out of a 5 to 5, let me just cut to the chase. I gave it about a 4.8. There was a couple things in the movie that didn't quite land according to me, but that's just me. I don't put that on him. I put that on me as a viewer. I enjoyed it thoroughly. I've seen it once. And you know what? I'm making this live today against my better judgment because I would like to see it again before I even discuss it. But we need to talk about it. because there are other people talking about it. And I've seen so many reviews of people who are looking at it from so many angles, but no one is looking at it from the angle from which I see it, the angle of the gospel musician, the musician raised in church, the musician raised to interpret music a certain way. Ain't nobody talking about it, y'all. Even the director ain't talking about it. Holly Howard, thank you for being here. So I had to watch it twice to get the real understanding of it. You might have to watch it a couple more times, Holly, because I know for a fact I need to go see a couple things another time just to interpret it, just to process it again. There were some things that I was catching as the movie was going. And listen, y'all, let me put this out there. Let me put it out there. Spoiler alert. We might talk about some stuff. You got people in the chat who have seen the movie. So you might get some spoilers out here within the next 45 minutes or so. I ain't going to be before you long. We're just going to hit it and quit it today, y'all. But I appreciate all of y'all being here and supporting it. But you might have to see it a couple more times before you can really interpret what was happening there. And if you follow me for some time, you've heard me say on this platform that church is the boot camp for musicians. Miss Ann in the building, thank you for being here. Miss Ann said, I heard some say, don't go see it. It's demonic. I'm interested in your take. Okay, well, you're going to get my take today, Miss Ann. But let me tell you, okay, let me give y'all this before we even dig deep into it. My take today might not be my take tomorrow, because there are some things that I need to see again. There are some things that I need to interpret further before I can come to a final conclusion. So this is not my final conclusion. Let me just put it out there. But if you follow me on this platform, understand, y'all, that I got 20 years in this game dealing with gospel musicians, and I ain't heard nobody on them folks' platform approach it from that perspective. And I'm saying, Lord, what are you doing? God, what are you doing? What are you revealing unto me? Based on my personal experience, such that so many people have released videos and content and reviews and explanations on this, and ain't nobody seeing it the way I see it. Because ain't nobody been through that experience. I've seen some people who broke down this movie in an excellent review, in an excellent way, on excellent platforms. But they didn't see it the way I saw it, because I saw it from the perspective of a gospel musician who was born in the church, who was raised in the church, who was reared in the church, who was lured out of the church. That boot camp that I talked to y'all about in years past, that boot camp that I think is the greatest. Listen, y'all, let me look. Can I get comfortable? Can I be comfortable with y'all today? Because I thought this movie was a 4.8 out of a 5. Let me just put that out there. Wasn't a perfect 5, but it was so close. I've dealt with so many musicians, and it reminded me of Matthew 22 and 14. King James Version says, for many are called, but few are chosen. I need y'all to tap into that. Simple scripture. Many are called, few are chosen. And I've dealt with, y'all, it gotta be hundreds of thousands who are called. And at first I said hundreds who are chosen. Excuse me, y'all. Hundreds who are chosen out of hundreds of thousands who are called. And I expanded it. I allowed my mind to stretch a little bit, and I said, look, Kevin Hayden Music said, somebody put Gerald in C sharp. I ain't ready to tune up yet. I'm about to shut my musicians down. Look at Kevin Hayden. You know this motion right here? Boom. That right there Where you turn to the organist and go, boom. Shut it down, bro. We ain't ready yet. That's where I'm at right here, because I need to set the foundation for where we about to go here. And we ain't going to be before you long. But if you take a country musician, born and raised playing country music, and you put him in church, he ain't going to last. If you take a rock and roll musician, born and raised playing rock and roll, and you throw him in church, he ain't gonna last. If you take a classical musician and you put them in a church, let me clarify, a blackety black church situation, he ain't gonna make it through praise and worship before he get thrown up out of that sanctuary. But the reverse is not the same. You can take a black gospel musician, born and raised in the church. You can put him in a country western situation. He will survive. He will interpret that music in a certain way where he enhances the music. You can put him in a classical situation. He will interpret it in such a way. You can put him in a hard rock, heavy metal, rock and roll situation, and he interprets it in such a way where he understands and can get through it. Why is it that the black church can produce musicians who can survive in any other genre of music, but these other genres that exist out there cannot implant a musician inside the black church and have the same result? Y'all, listen to me. Listen. We're about to talk about it today. I've spent 20 years, example after example, not just recording it, not just documenting it, not just sharing it with you all, not just trying to educate you, but really trying to put you up on a spiritual game that is going on, that is taking place right before your eyes. And I am sitting here having seen this movie, being struck in a certain way that is, I ain't even processed it yet, y'all. I'm telling you, I gotta go and see it again. Volume after volume, DVD after DVD, Blu-ray after Blu-ray, all of this in a catalog. Having documented the story, the life, the existence, the experience of gospel musicians that are lured out of the church after they have been trained up in the church. Y'all, go back to the scripture, Matthew 22:14. Many are called, few are chosen. This was a movie about a chosen musician. And it strikes me in a special way because I know some special musicians, some chosen musicians out of all of the hundreds of thousands that might feel like they were called. I know a few that I believe were chosen. And even the chosen ones are susceptible to the music game, to the devil's game. They have stepped out here into this music business, and I always say, listen, you can be a great musician in your bedroom, you can be a great musician in your garage, but once you decide that you're going to step out into the music business, oh, that's a whole different situation. That's a whole nother situation with many other considerations that most of y'all don't even take into account. You skip right over them and say, well, I'll focus on the music and let them focus on the business, and then things will work out, right? No, that ain't how this works. If you're going to involve yourself in the music business, you got to focus on business, just like I just told y'all. Ryan Coogler, the director of this film, was not a film student at Sac State where we went to undergrad. He was a business major. He needed to understand the business. And you should understand the business as well if you dare to step off into this game. And this is the message that I've been preaching to these young bros and sisters. Not many of them, more so the bros, but every now and then you get a sis sprinkled in there who is skilled, who is talented, who is capable. They don't understand it. They think if I just focus on the music, if I can just shed a little bit, if I can just kill this instrument, then I'll be good. But if you watch the movie, you understood that there was power in the music, but the father of the boy, Sammy, who was the protagonist in this story. Y'all, if you ain't seen it, then you might not want to watch this because we trying to talk about it just a little bit today. And I hope y'all get active in the chat. If you have seen it in the chat, let your voice be heard. Because that's what we own today. Kimberly Cunningham in the building said, I stayed up until the Irish dance outside. Just didn't want to finish it. Okay. Kimberly Cunningham, I'm glad you said that. Thank you, Kimberly, for being a part of the chat today. Let me put this on the screen, y'all. Can I introduce this to y'all? Oh, sorry. Wrong slide. There we go. Do y'all see this little white woman to the left of your visual? That little white woman, that little Irish woman, this is why, see, this movie hit home for me on so many different levels. That little white woman on the left of this photo is my great-grandmother. Grandma Lula, as we call her in my family. This little white Irish woman, around about the time of this film, it's a period piece, y'all. It's a throwback piece. Round about the time Grandma Lula married a blackity black, that big old black man standing next to her. And I know y'all wonder, you might be looking at this photograph that I'm sharing with you from my family history, and you saying, how could it be? You such a blackity black. Your nose is so wide. How could it be that your great grandmother, Grandma Lula, was a white Irish woman in America? Y'all better get up on game and understand that everything that is depicted on the screen is not always fictional. Y'all, that's my blood. You look at me and this wide nose on your screen and say, ain't no way he got no white Irish blood in his family. Well, I got pictorial evidence to prove you wrong. No matter how you might feel about it. That's what it is. That is my great-grandmother. That is my grandmother's mother. And a whole one side of my family is light-skinned like that. And the other side is some blackity blacks. And somewhere along the line, and we trace it back into the decades and centuries gone past, somewhere they mixed up, somewhere they collided and clashed, and well, we're gonna leave it at that. We don't want to get too deep into it, but somewhere along the line, they smashed up against each other and created a little peanut butter situation that could result in me in 2025 this day talking to y'all. I appreciate y'all rocking out with me today. That is my great grandmother. White as snow. Greenish eyes. Like they showed off in the movie. Y'all, you may not understand what's going on here, but something is going on here. And I just need you to understand. So let's get into this, into this context. And I'm going to use a person that I don't always agree with. Let me just put it this way. I've had so many disagreements with some things that he has put out there, that he has pontificated, some things that he has extrapolated, some things that he has expressed. But when he owned, I'm going to give him credit. Dr. Umar Johnson when he out there cooking, he cooking. And in this video that I found of him and his review of this, I thought he was cooking. So we're going to use it as an example and take a couple clips. Shout out to Art of Dialogue, that YouTube channel, that podcast that is putting out exclusive interviews and good content for the people like you and I to absorb, to process, and to extrapolate on in situations like this. But I need you to understand, if you saw this movie, there's an overall concept that I want you to get. If you follow me before, you understand that I believe that church is the boot camp for the greatest musicians in the world. Black church, blackity black church is the greatest boot camp for musicians in this world. I believe that, y'all. And that's why I have a whole catalog documenting it that I've put out before the world. And some people think, well, you just record musicians. No, I have sat with these musicians. I have talked with these musicians. I have researched these musicians. I have studied these musicians, not only them, but their family members, their parents. I've dug off into their background and I've come to understand it was a scientific study. I know who they are. I know where they come from. I know how they are bred. Do you know something? Let me put this in your spirit. R. Gordon 2691 says, I will never go and see it. Well, I don't really fool with people who are closed-minded like that. Let me just put it out there for you, R. Gordon. If you are closed-minded and unaccepting of ideas that don't align with yours, I don't see how you're going to grow. You like a stagnant plant in the garden who only grows so tall and is limited by your own limitations that you have placed on yourself, because you say, I ain't gonna go see it. I ain't willing to grow. I ain't willing to develop. I ain't willing to accept other ideas. Okay, well, maybe this ain't the spot for you, bro. But I wish you the best. If you notice in the movie, it began in the church on Sunday morning. I don't know how many of y'all have had some access to some good Sunday morning church, but it's all part of the development process of breeding musicians who are exceptional, such that a devilish spirit of Satan would want to lure them out of the church. Because, yeah, we understand many are called, but are you chosen? The devil wants the elite of the elite. Are you chosen? Are you exceptional to the point where you are chosen to be extracted from that boot camp? Bombay Genius says their most stressful movie ever. This is the day. 07 says, Christians are called to be open-minded. We are called to be holy and separate from the world. I get it. But if you saw the film, did you see how the film began on Sunday morning and it ended on Sunday morning? That boot camp, that training camp, that thing. Listen, y'all, listen. I did some research years ago about, and I wrote it on my website. There's a blog post about it. You can go to GospelChops.com and check it out. There's a blog post about how gospel musicians learn music. Any of y'all out there ever carried a baby to birth? Any of y'all ever pushed a baby out? Well, I did a little research and I wrote a post about it. I talked about it, a little piece, and I understood that at about 5 months during the gestation period, a baby begins to hear. Baby begins to hear. And because of the fluid in the mother's womb, The sound is convoluted. Sound is a little jumbled. Our sister Amethyst Angel in the building, Brenda in the building, Black Fox 72 in the building, Bombay Genius in the building. Thank you all for being here. Amethyst Angel, we talking about sinners. I just saw it last night. I'm going to see it again. I'll probably see it 3 or 4 times before I'm done because I need to really process some of the things that went on there. Excuse me, y'all. I'm sorry. My allergies cutting up today. Please forgive me. At about 5 months, a baby begins to hear. The amniotic fluid in a mother's womb convolutes the hearing, convolutes the sound. Bombay Genius said, I just walked into a theater. Enjoy it. Don't let me ruin it for you. Clock out and enjoy it and then come back and meet us in the comments. But in that hearing, y'all, in my experience in the Blackity Black church, and if y'all been following me for some time, you know the church I was born and raised in. Some people say you can't join it, you got to be born in it. Well, I was born in it, so I'm official like a referee's whistle off in that church. Bombay Genius says walked out. Wow. Well, at about 5 months, a baby begins to hear. The sound is jumbled and convoluted because of the fluid, but the sound that the baby interprets, it begins to understand the sound of the host. What do I mean when I say host? The mother's voice. It begins to interpret the timbre of the mother's voice that it hears quite often. Every time the mother is just carrying the baby, but her life goes on. She's talking to you and you and you and you. She might dance a little bit in church. She might praise God as the Spirit comes upon her. But one thing I've never seen in church is a pregnant mother move away from that screaming organ. Move away from those thumping drums. And if you know how to black church where you can hear that sound outside. I love the fact that y'all getting in it. Y'all getting to it in the chat. I'm going to continue to talk my talk because I don't want to be before you all day here. I'm going to let you go. But these are some of the things that struck me about the situation. And as that baby begins to hear, around about 5 months, that mother never moves away from that screaming organ. So just as a baby can begin to understand and interpret a mother's voice, just as a baby can begin to interpret rhythm of the mother's heartbeat, the mama in church on Sunday, she in Sunday school, she at White BWW, she at Bible study, she there every night of the week in this boot camp that I call it in the black church. That baby begins to understand music. Y'all want to understand how does it happen this way? Why does it happen this way? Why can you take a black musician out the church and put them in any other scenario and they function, but you can't take nobody out of another scenario and put them in church and they're able to function? Why doesn't it work both ways? Because y'all don't understand how these kids are brought up in the black church for musical interpretation. But you got to understand when you look at this movie that Lucifer, before he was thrown out of heaven, he was in charge of the music. He was in charge of the angelic choir. So y'all who sit up and pretend like the devil don't understand this music, like the devil don't understand scripture, I wonder about y'all. I wonder about your paper thin theology. I wonder how much of this book have y'all read? How much do you understand about this? How much have you interpreted To think that the devil don't understand. When I saw a scene at the end of this movie where the devil in the form of a vampire grasped a hold of the chosen musician. Remember, y'all, many are called, few are chosen. This musician was chosen. They made it a point throughout the movie to show you that he was the chosen one. The devil grasped a hold of him and dunked him in the water as if to say, I'm baptizing you. And he started reciting the Lord's Prayer. Black Fox, I appreciate you for being here. He started reciting the Lord's Prayer, and the devil in the form of a vampire started reciting it with him. Bro, what are you talking? You think we don't know this? We came from this long before you and your generations. We was thrown out of heaven. Now, we know this. This ain't scaring us. We ain't afraid of this. We know the Bible just as much as you. We know the Bible better than you. Because you just study the Bible just enough to get through testimony service on Sunday. You study the Bible just enough to get through a Sunday school lesson or a YPWW lesson. Or when the pastor get up on Sunday and he say, turn to this scripture and follow along, you know it just enough, paper thin level interpretation. Satan is saying, bro, I know the Bible better than you. I can recite it along with you. Let's do it in unison as I prepare for your demise. Sorry, y'all. I'm getting a little far off the topic. That ain't what I wanted to talk about. We want to talk about gospel musicians and the fact that so many gospel musicians, some of which I have featured on this catalog that I've shown you today, have had their gift nurtured, cultivated in the church, where you was hitting wrong notes, where you was playing too fast on them drums, where you was losing the rhythm, and them old mothers would sit there and encourage you, and they would gas you up, and they would blow you up to the point where you locked it in at some point. Appreciate you, P. Mooney. Thank you for being here. The culture nurtured you to the point where you became exceptional. Not to the point where you were called, because plenty of folks are called, and some of them suck. A lot of them suck, even though they're called. But you were exceptional. You weren't just called, you were chosen. And the devil focused on you and pulled you right up on out the church to play in the juke joint, to play in the stadium, to play at the Super Bowl. And you somehow felt like that was a feather in your cap. Hey, Bernie, appreciate you being here. You felt like because the devil chose you. See, the Bible says in Matthew 22:14, many are called, few are chosen. It's not speaking about the devil choosing you to take your God-given gift and share it with the world. No, that ain't what the scripture's talking about. But that's how it should be interpreted by many of y'all who go through this boot camp and begin to understand and interpret music in such a way. Understand how Understand how powerful music is, whether you use it for good or use it for bad. It is extremely powerful. Some folks say music calms the savage beast. Can you imagine a savage beast out of control, out of its mind, just ravaging? And somehow music can calm it. That's powerful. But what is the power of music when you don't use it for good? Y'all, in this scene where this movie began, this boy pulled up to the church on Sunday morning. The same scene that started the movie is the same scene that ended the movie. But I need you to understand something. When his gift was extracted from the church, yes, Bernie, Bernie rocking with me today. She says, Saul and David. When his cousins pulled up to the church, these twins, yin and yang, this Gemini spirit, two wings from the same bird, two sides of the same coin pulled up to the church. You notice how they never went inside? All throughout the movie, the devil needed permission to come inside. And when we analyze how these musicians act, we understand what's going on here. Yes, you have been reared in the church. You have been listening to music. You have been interpreting this thing. Y'all want to say from birth, but no, I just told you it's before birth. At around about 5 months, babies begin to understand rhythm and tone. And your mama ain't moved nowhere away from that organ because she loves it so much. She's sitting right next to the Leslie speaker that is screaming at this baby in her belly. She's sitting right next to the drums. And every now and then, y'all, she get light on her feet, even with that baby in her belly, and she will get up and cut a rug. She will get up and dance a piece. So not only is the baby interpreting the sound, not only is the baby interpreting the rhythm, the baby is interpreting the feel. I'm being shook by this thing. Such that when I enter into the world, I'm already familiar. You ever seen a black mama in a black church take her baby and move him all the way to the back? Because he just a newborn. He only been here for a few weeks now, and we want to keep him away from the loud noise and the loud spirit. No, that's what don't happen. That baby been shouting since he was implanted. That baby understands more than any other. That baby has been brought up in such a way that when he gets here upon arrival, he is familiar with what is going on in this circumstance. Them babies ain't got no earmuffs on. They ain't got no earplugs. They mama parked them right back on the front pew once they enter into the world. And next thing you know, at 2 years old, they got drumsticks in their hand and they know rhythm. They locked in. They're exceptional. They are prepared to be exceptional in this environment, this boot camp environment that prepares them to be more and better than other musicians in other environments. See, they can operate over there, but them musicians can't operate over here. What is it? Y'all tell me. What is it? I say it's the greatest boot camp ever for a musician of any type. Because every type of music that you can find out there is going to be incorporated somewhere in a blackety black church. In this movie, the devil pulled up with a banjo and a ukulele. Y'all, I like to fell out in my chair right there in the theater. I said, oh my God, look at this. Y'all understand that them folks get down a little different. They interpret a little different. But what the man said was, I want what you got. What I got ain't enough. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, these songs we out here playing, they was hitting them too, bro. Them Irish songs, they sounded good to me, but I don't just want that. I want what you got. Can I interpret what you got and put it with mine? Yo, I got 20 years in this game. I done seen folks come from other communities and insert themselves in with the blackity blacks and say, I want your chops. Because what I got ain't good enough. Y'all turning heads over here. Y'all making a difference over here. Y'all got the whole industry turning their head looking at what y'all doing. I need some of what you got. But I ain't trying to go to black church. No, no, no. I'm scared of that. Whatever y'all got off in that black church, I don't want none of that. I just want the gift. And some of y'all look at me on every video. Some of y'all watch every video I put out and don't understand what I'm talking about. Without the gospel, it's just chops. And over the years, I've seen so many people come forward from other communities and say, I just want the chops. I don't want the gospel. I don't want the spirit. I don't want to understand on that level. Nah, that's not what I'm here for. Just give me the chops, bro. I'm just here to extract. I'm not here to sow nothing into the community. I ain't here to give nothing to the community. All I want is to extract from y'all. Because y'all got something that I need, something that I could benefit from, something that I want. Hey, Jen, she sings in the building. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you. Y'all check out this video. I don't too much agree with Dr. Umar on some of the things he says. But I wanted to share this today because, hey, look, you got to give, let me get my screen up here. Sorry, y'all. When you got to give Umar credit, whether I agree with him or not. When he cooking, y'all, when Umar is cooking, he be cooking. Shout out to Art of Dialogue for hosting this interview with Umar. We're going to share a little piece of it with y'all. And we're going to come back on the other side and interpret just a little bit of what's going on here. Is that all right? Let's go.
So she was an ancestral priestess. And so basically what's going on in this movie is it is discussing the life of a chosen one, chosen by God to come to earth to do a divine work through his music. Through his music. The problem is he had gotten mixed up with the wrong crowd, Smoke and Stack, and others. And rather than using his music to liberate and elevate, he uses his music for people to party as they are feeding into their lusts and their lower flesh. And so, Sammy, the chosen one, is an excellent guitar player. His father is a pastor of a church. Even though his father is a pastor, he has the gift of divine sight. He can see his son's gift, but he can also see that his son doesn't know how to control that gift. That his son didn't have the spiritual discipline to protect his talent so evil forces wouldn't get a hold of it and manipulate it into his fall from divine favor. So in this movie, there are some evil Caucasian forces in this movie. Spirits of the left as compared to spirits of the right, which are the angels and the Loa, the Orisha, the Netters, so forth. And so what happens is because Smoke and Stack and Sammy the Chosen One are engaged in lower nature behavior by way of the nightclub that they opened up inside of an animal slaughterhouse owned by the KKK that they wasn't aware of. So anyhow, because they were operating on a low frequency they attracted low frequency energy, the Caucasian vampires. The vampires could have never found them except for their frequency. What Ryan Coogler was trying to get us to understand is that our behavior as African people is either raising our frequency closer to the Creator or lowering our frequency closer to the spirits of evil, some call the devil.
What y'all think about that? What y'all think about what Dr. Umar is saying in this instance about the chosen one? Because one thing that I came to understand, one thing that I observed in that moment, and I was trying to clock it all, y'all. This is why people who really opine on a narrative like this go and see it several times, and that's why I will probably see it 3 or 4 times before I'm done with it. But this is just a cursory take on the situation after seeing it one time. Our sister Urban Southern Cookie is in the building. Thank you for being here. But if you notice that when the twins pulled up to the church, see, throughout the movie, the whole narrative was that you got to invite the devil in before he can come in to your situation. He can't come in without an invite. Okay, we get that. But if you notice at the beginning of this film, when Smoke and Stack pulled up to the church where this boy's father was trying to train up a child in the way that it should go, so that when he get old, he will not depart from it. The father understood the musical connection. The movie began with the boy reaching up under his bed for his guitar. It wasn't there. His father took that instrument to the church. But his family members, a familiar spirit, pulled up to the church. No, they didn't ask permission to come in. They never got out the car. They never went in the church. They pulled him out. No, you come out of there. We know they trained you up right. We know they had you in Bible study. We know they had you in revival service. We know that they taught you how to play in all keys. Now you come on up out of there and we gonna offer you, I know you've been singing lead singer in the church choir all your life. But you lead singer, I'm going to give you a position as a background singer for some superstar celebrity. I'm going to take you out of your superstar role that God put you in. He put you in a position to be a star. Many are called, you are chosen. You have been chosen to be a voice for the kingdom. I'm going to take you from your kingdom position and put you as a background singer for Beyonce. You rather be a background singer for Taylor Swift than to be a lead singer in the house of the Lord? Seem to me like your priorities messed up. Seem to me like you have had your mind and your spirit infiltrated in such a way that the devil didn't even have to come inside. He just lured you out. Yeah, the demons in this movie needed permission to come inside. But what kind of permission do they need to lure you out? You dope bass player, you dope guitarist, you dope organist, you dope drummer, you. I told y'all, if you follow me for some time, I told you about the man who was a friend of mine who was born and raised on the pews of the church. He didn't want to be a gospel musician. He didn't want to be a church musician. He wanted to be a rock star. What did he find in this devil's music game? He found an opportunity to get exactly what he wanted. The devil offered him on a silver platter exactly what he wanted. You want to be a rock star? I'll make you a rock star. Just like they did in this movie. Say, hey, I'll give you eternity here on earth if you just sacrifice your commitment to God in heaven. Give your gift to us. We will play music forever here together on earth. That brother turned his back on the church, which had reared him, which had trained him, which had conditioned him to be a servant of God. And he found his way into a rock band called Suicidal Tendencies. I told y'all this story. If you follow me for some time, you've heard me talk about it. How ironic is it that shortly after you become a rock star in a band called Suicidal Tendencies, that you yourself commit suicide? I'll just leave that for you to ponder. Because it wasn't in the movie. But maybe it should have been. Because this dude pulled up with a banjo and a and a fiddle and a ukulele, and they playing music in such a way that the blackity blacks don't interpret it that way. They say, hey, I understand. Yeah, y'all sound good, but that ain't how we get down over here. Maybe this is the wrong spot for you, devil. Maybe this ain't where you belong. But if you follow the movie, there was someone in between the congregation who felt like she could play both sides. I'm cool with y'all, and I'm cool with y'all. If you listen, if you know this catalog right here, oh, you've seen that before. I can walk on both sides of the street. I can be cool with y'all. I can be cool with y'all. So how we gonna deal with it? She was the first one to step outside the juke joint, former slaughterhouse, and go and say, hey, I look like them. I can relate to them. I can walk on both sides of the streets. I can straddle the fence. Let me go out here and see if I can negotiate a settlement between them and them. Much like I showed you at the beginning of this live. Oh, well, I got a little piece of Irish in my blood. Some of y'all out there talking about, yeah, I got Indian in my family. Y'all think y'all can walk on both sides of the fence, but many times people judge a book by its cover. Although people advise not to do it, that's what they see. When they see melanated skin, when they see a wide nose, they have no idea that your ancestors might have been Irish. Your ancestors might have been on that other side. Your ancestors might have been a little bit different than what you are presenting today. Interesting narratives in this movie. Let me jump to another spot here where our brother, oh, I was just on it. I let the thing run so far. He was about to get right on it. Let me get back to it where Omar talks about Dr. Umar, respectfully, talks about drinking and smoking the pain away. Because those are some of the things we rely on when life gets too heavy. And interestingly, I've come across so many gospel musicians who are born and bred in the church, raised and reared in the church, interpret music in a churchianity perspective, not Christianity, churchianity. And they will still rely on some of these substances when the devil get busy in their mind and they can't shake some of those things off. Seems like music might be a conduit. As powerful as music is, as strong as music is, as talented as some of these brothers are, music might be the conduit that allows the devil into your spirit. Jazzy Joyce says, love your channel. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against spiritual powers in high places. This is real warfare. 100%. 100%. See if Umar can finish cooking.
And some of us don't even realize that when we're having fun and enjoying ourselves, we're playing right into the hands of the devil. And in this movie, it shows you how When you are in pain, when you need to relax, when you're looking for some pleasure or some joy, art, you start entertaining behaviors that lower your frequency. You want to go and do what when you're not feeling good? I want to go get something to drink. I want to go smoke. I want to go listen to some music. I want to go dance. And so in the nightclub, art, this movie shows you how the behavior in the nightclub is not much different than the behavior of demonic forces during their rituals. In the black nightclub or any nightclub, what do you have? You have people lusting with each other, people dancing lustily with each other. You got people getting drunk. You got people getting high. You got people engaging in gossip and low frequency speech. And you got people listening to music that is not divine. Those same ingredients are what the devil uses to lure people into his trap and separate you from your soul. Delroy Lindo in the movie, art, he says, there are certain musicians. He was talking about Sammy because Sammy was a chosen one, chosen to use his music for good, but he allowed evil spirits to manipulate him into using his music for evil. And so Delroy Lindo says certain musicians are born, art, with such talent that their music has the ability to pierce the veil between this world and the other world. See, we don't understand how powerful music is, art. What does the Bible say? In the beginning, there was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. That is metaphorical symbolism, art, for the fact that everything created was created from sound and light. Everything in the universe comes from sound and light. So when you are a gifted musician, as Ryan Coogler was showing us in this movie, you either going to use your gift, Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston, Prince, and all these greats, Donny Hathaway, and all these greats. You're going to use your music to serve the Lord, or you're going to use your music to serve the devil. It can't be both ways. And when you get involved in these demonic systems, the music industry in particular, you are lowering your frequency and you are giving the spirits that control that evil society the chance to come in and isolate your soul. Isolate your soul from your mind and your consciousness.
Choose ye this day who you will serve. You have been born. You have been raised. You have been reared in the church, and yet you choose. Because he is a choice. Even the movie displayed it. The devil can't come in unless you allow him. Without your permission, he can't come in. But as you saw by the opening scenes of this movie, the devil don't always need to come in. Sometimes he'll just invite you out. And you'll open up the doors of the church and walk right on out with everything that God has gifted you, everything that God has placed upon you, everything that has been implanted in you. You will open the doors of the church and walk right out and get in the car with smoke and stack and ride off in the face of your Father, who was trying to teach you right, who was trying to hold you down. I'm going to ride off in your face.
The body is alive, but the spirit is owned by the devil. In the Bible, it talks about sometimes you entertain people and didn't even realize you were entertaining angels. Well, the reverse is also true, art. You can entertain people and not realize that you are entertaining the devil. And so Sammy's father wanted him to recognize that that guitar in his hand was an instrument of evil because of how he was allowing people to manipulate him into using it. And see, Smoke and Stack, the two brothers, they was engaged in so much criminal behavior, art, And the Bible says what? I'm not a Christian, but I'm using the Bible because most of your listeners can relate to it. The Bible says the wages of sin are death, spiritual death in this life. And so smoke and stack by way of sin and always looking for money and making money by any means necessary, they invited those evil entities into their life, which ends up ultimately costing one of them their life.
Y'all, he never let go of the guitar. Did anybody catch that? No matter what came his way. And I said, boy, I know some people like that. They've lost custody of their kids. They've lost their marriages. They've lost their homes. But you know what they wouldn't do? They wouldn't sell that equipment. They wouldn't sell that keyboard. They wouldn't let go of that bass. No matter what came their way. They lost everything around them. Even such at one point in the movie, the whole barn burned down and they were dancing on the outside. Because the structure of the barn had burned, but they were still singing and they were still dancing and they were still partying and drinking. And the devil was just standing on the outside, smiling at them, looking at what they had wrought, what they had brought upon themselves. The whole barn has burned, and here you are still dancing and singing. I know some people like that. Lost everything, but they didn't lose that equipment. Because they loved that music more than they loved their family. They loved that music more than they loved their situations. They clung to it. They held on to it. Interesting topic of study. If you want to take it upon yourself to dig deep into it and find out what musicians in the blackety black church are made of, I don't think that there's any way that this script could have been written without an understanding of the details that I'm trying to give you today. If you didn't understand how a musician is in the black church is raised, how a musician in the black church is reared or taught or developed, how could you write a story like this? And here's the crazy part about it, because I've seen so many people opine on it and put videos up on them folks' platforms talking about they gonna explain it. But ain't nobody talked about the dichotomy between the black gospel musician who was lured out of the church by the devil's industry and gave up everything for the devil's music business. And there was a song years ago written by Chris Brown called Yellow Tape. Excuse me, y'all. Called Yellow Tape. It said, I had a meeting with the devil last week. Couldn't believe what he said to me. Here's a contract. Signature, please. You can have it all, but your soul I'ma keep. Oh, y'all look it up. Those are the lyrics to the song. I may be paraphrasing, but that's what the boy said. And it was so telling. How could you write a song like that had you not been through the rigors of the music industry? Had a meeting with the devil last week. You wouldn't believe what he said to me. Here's a contract. Signature, please. You can have it all. Everything in this world I will give to you. But your soul I'm going to keep. Next time you find a gospel musician, a church musician who was raised and reared in the church, born in the church, created even in the blackety black church. Next time you find one, ask him about his tour experience, because I promise you, y'all, and this is what I put in your son's ear when I get to talking to him. You can play for a Britney Spears, a Christina Aguilera, a Taylor Swift. You can play for any of the biggest artists. You can play for Beyonce, but I promise you this, because I see them all the time. They post up on their social media. They take a picture of the crowd from the stage. And they say, y'all, look at what I'm doing. I'm on this big old stage with 100,000 people out here looking at us. I dare you, you people under the sound of my voice, I dare you to go to any of those arenas. Just stand out in the crowd as they exit. Don't check on them as they enter. Wait till they exit, when they leave the experience, when they've been touched by the music that is going forth in that environment, and you ask them one by one. Those teeny boppers, those young 20-something or others, Gen Z. Who was on drums? They gonna say, what? Well, I just saw somebody post something on Instagram. He was on the drums and he put it. Who was on drums? I don't know. Yes, Jazzy Joyce, only what you do for Christ will last 100%. You see them people coming out of that Beyonce concert, you just pull one of them to the side at random and say, who was on bass? Some of them might be like, bass? What is that? I came for Beyonce. I came for the devilish rituals that were going on stage. I didn't really care nothing about the music. That was secondary. That was tertiary. What are you talking about? Who's on bass? I have no idea. Is that what we own? Why did you come? Why did you pay hundreds of dollars, sometimes even thousands of dollars, to be here at this concert? You didn't come for the drummer? You didn't come for the keyboard player? You didn't come for the MD? You didn't come for the guitarist? What are you here for? I'm here for the experience. I'm here for Beyonce. I'm here for Taylor Swift. And somehow, some way, the devil has infiltrated the church and reeled the musicians up out of there. Not the called, only the chosen. The devil wants the best of the best. He pulling out the best of the best out the church, reeling them out. He's saying, look, I can't get in there unless I got permission. Now, some of y'all, listen, I wish I had that video pulled up. Some of y'all put these janky leg preachers up in the pulpit and they will invite the devil in. They will have a DJ in there on Sunday morning. Oh, y'all seen them Atlanta? Y'all seen them at Chicago? Y'all seen them New York? Y'all put these brothers up and put them in a pulpit at a podium, and they invite the devil right on into the situation. But for those down south in this video who in this movie who saying we didn't invite the devil in at all, the devil can't get off in here. Well, unfortunately, the devil was strong enough to pull right up next to your building. He didn't need to knock on the door. He didn't need to open the door. He didn't need to come in, because he was strong enough to lure that talent right up out the church, as many people have done in the past. I ain't naming no names, y'all. You ain't gonna get me to tell no names, but I'll tell you a story. Can I tell you a story? One time, many years ago, I was sitting in my office at my computer and I got an email. Random email. It had to be about 2005, maybe 20 years ago, y'all. Maybe 2006. Just thinking about it, maybe 2006. Somebody from Europe, from the United Kingdom, sent me a random email and said, hey, bruh. Someone who was on the cover of one of your DVDs disrespected my wife on an international flight from America to the United Kingdom. let the devil use them. Born in the church, raised in the church, decided to turn their back on the church and go play secular music and give their soul to the devil, like Chris Brown said. had a meeting with the devil last week. Wouldn't believe what he said to me. He said, here's a contract signature, please. You can have it all, but your soul I'm gonna keep. This man said, listen, me and my wife are old. Why would somebody who has put his face on your video project disrespect my wife like this? He claims to be a gospel musician. He claims to be a Christian. Why would he disrespect my wife? He's such a huge human, such a big human being. Why would he do something like this? And I've had so many experiences like that. Y'all, you can go through that catalog I just showed you. So many people who have entered the game. Big, large, fat, obese. And it felt like what God made me wasn't good enough. If I can just lose this weight, then the devil's industry will accept me. Don't matter what I play, they're not accepting what I play because of how I look. Maybe if I just wasn't so fat. Had an experience with a musician. And out of all of the hundreds, my wife said I got 1,000 kids because all of the people I have touched and interacted with over the last 20 years, my wife said I got 1,000 kids because these grown men act like children. As talented as they are, as gifted as they are, as chosen as they are. Some of them ain't chosen, they just called. But it's okay. One in particular made such an impact on the world that he was so fat. He was so heavy that people around the world, from country to country, from continent to continent, were enamored with his presence. And he said, how can a dude so big, how can a dude so fat move so fast? How can he be so great and be so big? I featured him. I profiled him. I highlighted him. Because God had given him a certain gift in the church, y'all. In the church. Church kid. Raised on the pews. Like you and me. Born and raised in the church. God gave him a gift. A special gift. That took the world by storm. And you know what he did? You know what he let the devil convince him to. Listen, let me open it up right now and see if anybody in the chat is going to be able to tell me what he allowed the devil to convince him to do. I ain't him, y'all. I'm just a producer. A lot of people make the mistake of thinking that I'm best friends with some of these people. Some of these people I just met. Some of these people I don't know very well. Some of these people I have just featured and highlighted on my platform. Do you know what this man allowed the devil to convince him to do in this music game? The biggest, fattest, fastest musician that some of these people have ever seen in their lives, and they would send me messages about it. Just enamored in awe of this man's talent. God said, I am going to put something on you that makes you stand out, that makes you stick out, that makes you separate and apart from all those others that have been called. No, you haven't just been called, you have been chosen. Yeah, I know it might be heavy. I know it might be a heavy weight, a heavy burden for you to carry, but I'm going to put it on you because it's going to set you apart. Does anybody in the chat know what this fat boy allowed the industry to convince him to do? The devil's industry? All right, I don't see nothing there, so I'm going to just go on and tell you. The devil convinced him that he shouldn't be fat anymore. The devil convinced him that he should lose some of that weight. The devil convinced him that what God created in him was not what he should be. And he took certain steps to not be fat anymore. Certain surgical steps, certain costly steps. I'm sure certain painful steps to not be what God created you to be. God put you in a position to stand out. Y'all heard that song by Ty Tribbett? He said, stand out. God will put you in a place to stand out from amongst your peers. Yeah, it's many who are called, but very few are chosen. If God puts you in a situation where you can stand out from among them and be separate, to where all the world is saying, I ain't never seen a big boy move so fast. I ain't never seen a fat man do that. And the very thing that God put on your life to set you apart from everyone else is the very thing that you wanted off you. You didn't want to be fat no more because you felt like the industry couldn't see your talent through your weight. You didn't want to be fat no more because you felt like God cursed you. He gave you the talent of musicianship, but he cursed your physical appearance. He cursed your aesthetic such that people can't hear what you playing because they see it how you look. No. You got it all wrong, bro. People emailing me out the blue talking about I ain't never seen a big old boy like that move that fast. It must be God. It must be the Holy Spirit because ain't no way nobody that big is going to do that. It must be God. God put something on you in order for you to speak to the masses. And that is the very thing that you rejected. It's the very thing you didn't want. Yeah, many are called, few are chosen. God chose you. And you welcomed the devil into your mind. You welcomed the devil into your spirit. You wanted to be a participant in the devil's game. In order to participate, you had to conform to the devil's rules. And the devil said, hey, I recognize a calling on your life. I recognize a special gifting that God has put upon you. If you want to operate in this space, I need you to disconnect yourself from that gifting that God has put on you, from that thing that makes people pay attention to you, from that thing that separates you, from that thing that sets you apart from all those who have been called. Now, you have been chosen to be this. And the very blessing that God has put on your life is the very thing that you reject in your spirit. The thing that God has put on you to separate you from the masses is the very thing you hate about yourself. I don't know why I went that route. But I've got so far away from the movie. We're going to get back to it and let Umar finish cooking. And I'm going to get out your way, y'all.
You love it, brother. It's about good and evil, chosen ones, demonic possession, ancestral veneration. Because here's the thing, Art. The ancestral priestess in the movie, the chocolate sister dressed in white, she was the only one who knew how to deal with the vampires. She was the only one who knew how to deal with the vampires. And that's important because although we got Christianity and we have Islam and we have the Hebrew faith, respect to all of them. But in African culture, our spirituality is so much older than those religions that we have some of us, not all of us, not me, but within the structure of African spirituality, continent wide and worldwide, we have the ability to deal with some of these demonic forces that our Muslim, Christian, and Hebrew brothers and sisters need in order to vindicate their soul. But because they've been so brainwashed against African spirituality, many of them will never tap into it. And it bothers me, Art, that some Christians are attacking the movie. We already know white people are attacking the movie. They jealous because Ryan Coogler passed over, I forget the name of that movie, that top white movie. Well, guess what? Minecraft. Sinners passed over Minecraft for the top movie in America. It made about $71 million globally. And even though he put out $90 million, he's going to make that over. Before the first month of this movie is done, he would have at least doubled that $91 million. So I'm very, very happy for Ryan Coogler and what he's done. But white people are trying to sabotage him because here we go again. Deion Sanders, they don't like to see a bold.
There you go, y'all. Anytime you try to give Dr. Umar credit, he always gonna lead you astray and go off the rails. you got to cut him off because he'll always go there. That's where his focus is. That's why I showed you what I showed you at the beginning of this live so you could see. There were some things that were shown in this movie. Some racial conflicts between the Indians and the Irish, the black folks, the white folks in the South. I wanted you to see where I fit in to that whole narrative. We all got to figure out where we fit in. And then sometimes we got to disconnect from some of that old stuff that don't serve us. Serve our spirit, serve our humanity. Sometimes you got to disconnect and you can't let people like this who are holding on to them old narratives and allowing that stuff to control them even at this time in 2025, bro. Some of that stuff you got to let go, bro. Some of that stuff you talking about. Listen, I just showed you my great grandmama. So what are you talking about? How you expect me to interpret what you talking about when I just showed you my lineage, bro? That's what we're dealing with, y'all, with instances like this. I enjoyed the movie. I'm going to see it again and probably will see it a third time because I want to make sure that I grasp everything that the movie had to offer. I have a degree in this. I have studied it extensively. Film analysis is something that I enjoy. And I want to be able to extract everything that the writer intended that I extract from this film. So I'm going to go back several times. I'm going to see it. I'm going to watch it over and over. And there were some things that I saw that were triggering. I said, oh, that means something, but I'm too caught up in the film as it goes forward to catch it right now. I'll double back. Because there was vultures over the house. I saw that, but I got to move on. I saw that the devil was dunking Sammy in the water like he was baptizing him, but I gotta continue with the story. I gotta move on. Let me double back so I can grasp a hold of what's going on in this film and get everything that the writer intended. Y'all, I've written screenplays of my own, and God willing, I'll be able to publish them someday and reveal them to you. It will be the triumph of a lifetime, because I never thought that in my life I would ever pick up a camera at all. And here I am, 7, 8 titles deep into a catalog. Never thought it would go that route. But that route has sparked something in me that makes me feel like my journey is not yet fulfilled. Not just on this earth, but my journey in Christ is not yet fulfilled. There are stories that God birthed into me that I need to tell. The only way I'm going to tell them is to put a camera on it, just like Ryan Coogler. Walking around on that Sac State campus, bro. We see you. We know what it is. I'm going to have to go that route in order to get those stories told, because you got situations like this where I've seen dozens of reviews of this movie where people have latched on and connected with so many different facets of the story, but ain't not one touched on the story of a gospel musician born in church, raised and reared in church, and lured out of the church to play secular music. Well, y'all, that's what my whole career has been about. That's my whole story. So when y'all don't see it and y'all analyze it from a different perspective, I say, oh my God, what is going on here? God, are you speaking to my soul? Are you speaking to my spirit? What are you saying in this moment? Because this is what I've been talking about. And it seems like everyone is latching on to, it's a vampire movie. It's a segregation movie. It's everything but that for everybody else. But when I look at it and I interpret it, I say that God has placed people in a specific position to learn the art of music and the skill of music and the blessing of music in a certain place, in a certain way, in a certain culture. And it's so effective, it is so efficient that the devil wants them, that the devil comes for them right there in your sanctuary. I know you a good old Southern Baptist, you a good old missionary Baptist, you a good old Pentecostal, you a good old Church of God in Christ. The devil is right there. Sometimes your pastor give him permission to come on in, and he'll come in. And your whole congregation is erect. Sometimes your pastor stand on business, spiritual business, and he got to wait outside like Smoke and Stack and say, bro, come on, get in the car. We right here. We done pulled up in the parking lot, but we can't come in because we ain't got permission. It's too holy in there. But if you bring your holy tail on up out that church, you're going to be singing like Chris Brown. I had a meeting with the devil last week. Wouldn't believe what he said to me. He said, here's a contract signature, please. You can have everything in this world. Y'all saw it in the movie. I will give you eternity on this world. We can play music together. You and your bass, you and your Hammond B3, and me and my banjo, and me and my fiddle, and we can rock out together forever here on earth. You can have it all, but your soul I'm going to keep. And here we are, generation after generation, project after project, video after video, and your kids continue being raised in church, being reared in church, being groomed in church. They continue to fall for the okie doke and fall into the traps that Satan has set that are waiting for them right outside the church doors. Because sometimes we have said, hey, it's just good enough that we train our children not to allow the devil in. We're going to train them not to give the devil permission to come in. But what happens when you step out? Because you cannot live your life within the four walls of the church. We say it all the time. Ministry happens outside of the four walls. What are you doing outside? What are you doing once you leave the church? No, we got you in this boot camp inside the church to prepare you on how to conduct yourself once you leave, so you don't fall into the trap, so you don't get into the car with Smoke and Stack. And yet, musician after musician, gifted person after gifted person, not the called, but the chosen few, walk right out those doors and jump into the arms of the music industry. Everything you have invested in them, all those prayers, all that training, everything you have put into them and poured into them over those years, they walk right out the church and give it over to the devil because they feel like his ice is colder. Yeah, you might have 100 people in your church, but Beyonce got 100,000 at her concert. And I want to play before 100,000. Even though if you poll that 100,000, none of them know who you are. None of them even recognize you back there on that keyboard. None of them recognize you back there on those drums. Nobody even cares. They ain't there to see you. That's why your name ain't on the tickets. I hope y'all got something from this live. I hope y'all go and see the movie. I'm going to see it again because I got some more digging to do. There were some things that were projected on the screen that I need to make sure I interpreted correctly. I didn't touch on them today. I want to make sure that I saw it right, that I heard what I heard and I saw what I saw, and I interpreted what the writer and the director and the DP wanted me to interpret. Make sure I got it right. Ain't nothing wrong with that. But I haven't seen anyone on them folks' platform talk about it from this perspective that a church musician could be raised and reared and trained in the church only to be extracted from that church environment and exploited in the music game, whether it be on a record, whether it be in a juke joint, whether it be at a stadium, whether it be at a Super Bowl, whoever you performing with, wherever you're performing. If they snatched you out of the church where you were trained to use your gifts to exalt the Lord, and you chose based on negative devilish influence to turn that gift over to Satan, sign that paperwork Chris Brown was talking about. If you wanted him, I wonder what you extract from this movie. Do you see it the way I saw it? Do you find the message in the media the way that I see it? Have you had an experience where you feel like God placed something in you? It ain't got to be music, but a gift of some sort that you could use for the kingdom, that somewhere along the path you've lost your way and you've turned that gift over to the works of the enemy. Have you been bitten by a vampire in your own life? That may not just suck your blood, but may suck your talent from you, that talent that God placed in you. You ain't just called, you're chosen. Are you going to forsake that chosen position? Are you going to disregard that chosen position? Are you going to just give it up? Sell it on the cheap. Give it up for nothing, for a few shekels. Y'all see that in the movie as well. Go check it out. Are you going to give up your talent just for a few shekels? That thing, that golden gift that God has placed in you, that thing that you have worked for. Listen, I have so many conversations with young men and women, and I tell them because they think, oh, music is all I got. Hold on. That is not true. Because the very skill set that it took you to learn music on a masterful level, focus, patience, discipline, all those skills that it took you to get to the level of musicality that you're on, those skills can be applied to different areas of your life and make you a better human being. You ain't just got to be a musician. Those same skills apply to other areas of your life. It is you that is pigeonholed. It is you that has tunnel vision. It is you that don't want to see the bigger picture. But if God blesses you with a gift of music, there are other gifts that come along with that allow you to be a masterful musician. That's why the devil wants to take you out. That's why the devil targets you. Because if you can excel at music and be exceptional, no, not just called, but chosen. If you are one of the chosen ones, well, that devil knows what is in you. The devil knows what you are capable of. And it is the devil's mission to stop you from applying that very same skill set in other areas of your life. Because if you did, you would be one of the greatest. Heard somebody the other day say legendary. You would be legendary if you were able to take that same skill set and apply it to other areas of your life. The devil wants to pigeonhole you. The devil wants to stop you. The devil wants to shrink you to where you think music is all you got. Y'all, this movie went from start to beginning. This movie went from start to ending. I'm going to get off because you see I'm tripping up now. The movie went from start to end. This boy didn't want to let go of that guitar. But maybe, just maybe, he didn't understand the power that he had through that guitar, being one of the chosen. Not just one of the called, but one of the chosen. Y'all let me know what you think about this. That's my review, my opinion on first view of it. I'm going back to see it again. I'm going to review it even more. I'm going to dig deep into it. Because this is not the kind of movie where you can extract everything on one view. But I have yet to see anybody take the approach that I thought was natural because of my lived experience, to see it from the position of a gospel musician who has been pulled out of the church. Nobody else sees it that way? Am I the only one? Well, that's going to cause me to question, maybe God put me in this position as an interpreter of certain sorts. But I'm not going to take you down that rabbit hole today. I appreciate each and every one of y'all rocking out with me today. I love y'all to life. I thank you for rocking out, being a part. I thank you for keeping the chat lit. I thank you for expressing your opinions on this. I hope everyone goes out and sees it, such that we can extend this conversation further, because I don't think I'm done talking about it. But I searched and I searched to try to find someone else who was talking about it, who viewed it in the way that I did. I wanted somebody else to be able to connect with that opinion, connect with that perspective, and say, hey, I was raised in church as a musician. I understand what you're talking about. Nah, it ain't just a vampire movie. Nah. There's something else going on here. It's not just good versus evil. Something else going on here. Someone created a narrative, much like I did in my own scripts, where they took a musician born, raised, and reared in church, and they pulled him out of the church in order to make something else of him in the secular world. Y'all be sure and let me know in the comments if you feel the same way or if you feel differently. Whatever you feeling on this topic, whatever you feel after you've seen this movie, make sure you express yourself in the comments. I'd love to know how you feel about this. I'll probably go back tomorrow and see it again. And I might have more to say after that. But until then, until the next time I see you, they used to say in my church, may the Lord watch between me and thee. While we're absent, one from another. I love y'all to life. I appreciate you. I thank each and every one of y'all for rocking out with me today. And you know what, y'all? I'll see you on the next one.